Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag #SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mr. Mike Street. This is episode 66 of Smart Brown Voices. We've made it this far. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. And like I said in last episode, my number one goal is for episode 100 is to have Serena Williams come on this show. So if anybody out there is listening, has any good connections to Serena Williams, send me an email at streetforce1@gmail.com. So as you guys know, if you've listened to the show, of all of the 66 episodes, that I love technology, I love anything that's related to tech. That's why I run a couple of different tech organizations. One is called Tech Fam, which is on Facebook. It's 512 members. And it's all of the kind of the Black and Latino and our white allies as well. Anyone who's part of the technology Gujarati, so to speak, is in that group. So you'll find like Catherine Finney, Kimberly Bryant from Black Girls Code, Paul C. Brunson is in communities. He's was doing Mentor Monday, so he's got his own show coming out on ABC. This December, so watch out for that. And he was also episode number 1 of Smart Brown Voices. So fast forward to today, I want to introduce you guys to Ed Young. He is one of the founder or the co-founder of The Source.
Co-founder. The
Right.
real, founder was one guy who did it, put out a one-page newsletter, and then 3 others of us partnered up with him. So I count as a co-founder.
So Ed Young is the co-founder of Smart Brown, not Smart Brown Voices, but of The Source.
Now I'm truly honored.
So Ed, welcome to Smart Brown Voices. You've been doing so much over the past couple of years. Give us an update of where you are at today, because you're co-founder of The Source magazine, but you also have done a lot of stuff in the technology space, especially with publishing. You put out a African-American specific web browser called Blackbird, and you recently just launched a product. So give everybody an update on what you've been up to.
Okay, so with my background being in magazine publishing, and I had a unique perspective, being able to see 3 major industries at the same time. And so I was doing magazine publishing while I was still in college. But at 2 years after I graduated, I was doing the magazine, and a guy came into the magazine where I was doing The Source and the New Republic magazine. So these 2 guys came into the New Republic magazine, and they were carrying this big black box through the streets of Washington, D.C., and they wanted to meet one of the writers, a writer named Fred Barnes. And they were big fans of his. These guys, the big black box happened to be a Next Computer. One of them worked with Steve Jobs at Next Computer. The other one had been at DARPA. And so Fred Barnes, he was a writer and somewhat of a Luddite. And I get this frantic call on my extension, and he's saying, "Ed, you know this tech stuff. Please help me." Now, I was one of the guys. This is 1991. I was one of the guys walking around with the giant bricks that were cell phones back then, and a laptop computer that
You
weighed
were like the early adapter.
like the big handle. And anyway, so I go in, I meet these guys, we become great friends, but they introduced me to this thing called the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look back, thesource.com has, had a domain name as of 1992 or 3 or something. So that's, a badge of honor for some people, apparently. You have a domain name that's that old. But then I also, because of The Source, was involved in the music business. And so I got the opportunity to see technology or the newer technologies, but the music business thought technology was compact discs, which was wonderful for them. Their revenues just soared. They, I think it was domestically, they went to $40 billion, something crazy at some point. I'm not sure of the number, but it was a lot, okay? They weren't ready for what the internet allowed to have happen, like Napster and things like that. And so whereas technology was a great revenue boon on one side, the newer technology became a revenue devastation for them. Magazines are a little bit later in experiencing that, but they are also going through what the music business went through, where you had, artists. I look at artists as brands. Their albums were magazine issues and singles are articles. And so what I did was I looked to develop a technology stack that allowed magazines and publishers or content creators to not have happen to them what happened to the music industry. And so I have a platform of products that allows magazines to maintain their brand, maintain the cohesive voice, and reach the market in a meaningful way that allows them to continue to generate revenues, that allows them to overcome that concept of everything should be free, regardless of the fact that you have to create the content for me mentality. Also, I have an interest in community and building community. And one of the things that one of my friends from college realized, this is 8 years ago, 2008, and he was doing a search on YouTube, and he was he's a black guy, and he was trying to find YouTube videos that had to do with black people. He did the search, and it just came clear that, he would get YouTube videos that dealt with the color black. But there was no way for him to search effectively to find African American or black. You get African stuff, you get American stuff, you get color black stuff, but no centralized way to do it. So we got together and met with Mozilla, did a custom version of the Mozilla Firefox browser that had Google custom search integrated into it, where we went in and indexed black media across the web and had that. We had black news coming into it. We had black business links and things. And so basically it was anybody who was interested in black content across the web, because of the march towards mainstreamization that exists in what Google search is or any of the search. This was a way to pull out that content that was specific to a group or a community, but also allow you to get the greater, wider web as well. And so we put it out, and it was shocking at that point because it happened to coincide with the Obama campaign and with Jeremiah Wright, his pastor. So anyway, I was cast as this big racist who was trying to censor the web, and which really was not the case. I was trying to open the web up to allow people of all stripes to be able to dig into and find stuff that they wouldn't otherwise find. Because if you go, anybody does a search on regular Google, you think that there's no such thing as black media. Yeah. And so that's what the message we were trying to get across. And we got surprisingly, no support from a lot. There was the, emergence of the black bloggers and all of these things. And most of them, sadly, said, why do we need that? We're just going to, and sadly, most of them aren't around any longer precisely because people couldn't find them.
Well, and you're just too innovative. is what, from talking to you, I was like, this Ed, he's like really on the, you're always like 20 steps ahead of what the market is. And it is unfortunate because I was actually a user of the browser, and I thought it was great because, because there is actually too much stuff on the web, and you can't always exactly find what you're looking for. But it was a way kind of just, especially, for us that worked in black media, it was a way for me to keep updated with what was happening that was relevant for my community.
It just gives it to you. It's almost like it's too easy. Like Amazon's recommend. I looked at it as, and now this came later, but Netflix recommendations and Amazon recommendations. That's what we were doing before they did it. It was like, so So now let's jump ahead. And I have my app companies, and Blackbird, the browser, exists as an extension now. So it still is out there. It's got really tremendous use in Brazil and China. It's kind of funny. Like, that's the markets that really grabbed it. In Brazil, my partner and I are kind of famous. It's we go.
So why do you think Brazil and China? Like, why do you think that is?
So China, because they're smart and want to understand the world and that they're taking over, I think. Brazil, I spoke with a reporter from Brazil, and she's talking to me. She's like, "Oh yeah." So she knew all about it, and so apparently there is this real keen interest, because Brazil it's a stratified society in many ways, and they have there's a large part of the society that has a keen interest in the Black experience in America.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, apparently people discovered the Blackbird browser, and it was, like you said, it was giving them information that they were looking for in an easy way, and it just got shared and shared and shared and shared. And so we actually ended up doing a Portuguese version of the browser. And, sure enough, it got uptake. And so we jump ahead to now, and this Black Twitter thing that's out there. And Twitter is really more like a utility. It's a great product. It's great, but for a certain group of people who are in the information economy, arguably. But what the content on Twitter is really valuable to a much broader audience. And on top of that, Twitter has this amazing ability for creating and enabling community. And so we looked at that, and that kind of dovetailed with what the concept was behind the Blackbird browser. So we were like, we need to do Blackbird Mobile. And so we put that together, and what we do is we mine Twitter, and it's essentially a way to get verified communities surfaced through Twitter, through the activity on Twitter, and then marry that to news and local instances throughout the web. And that's what Blackbird Mobile is.
So I have the app open now, and just, you guys can't see it because this is audio. But just to give you a quick overview, what it is, it's a mobile app. It's available on iOS and Android. And basically what it does, it lets you follow hashtags. And that's kind of how you connect to the larger community. Because people aren't really like following, Twitter accounts anymore, but they follow hashtags and they follow movements like Black Lives Matter. So what you can do is you can go in the app and you have a stream of hashtags. It's just called Feed Fire. And you can kind of go through and see what's bubbling up around those hashtags. And if a topic gets pretty hot, a little fire emoji will appear, and you'll also get a little ping and say like, this topic is is getting popular right now. Come and check it out. And then so you can kind of read through it, and you don't have to log in through your Twitter account, and just it keeps you updated with what's happening around that conversation on your phone. And I think it's a great idea, because I think it's people are using Twitter a lot, but it's hard to really, stay focused with the conversation if you're not actually in their Twitter app all the time. So this lets come back to the conversation, come back and participate, or come look and see what's happening right now around Black Lives Matter or any of the other hashtags that you might want to follow. So like for me, I put social media in there so I can kind of stay focused with what's happening on social media and see like if there's any new tools or any hot conversations happening around the hashtag. So now you've got Blackbird Mobile up and running in the App Store and in Google Play. What's kind of your goals for this new endeavor?
So we're focused on Blackbird Mobile, which surfaces the community and expands the community around Black Twitter. That's the first one. We tend to do Black because we happen to be, so we have arguably a good understanding of that community. Sometimes I question that though, but you know, but we've gotten it's so different now. So where, as I said, with the web browser, people were like, "Why do we need this? Why do we need this?" This launch has been, I'm just taken aback. The love and support and, oh, this is great, from people has just been overwhelming. So people are really embracing it to the extent that, well, we built in, there's a local function, Mike, that I don't know if you've gotten to mess around with that, but you can put in where you are locally and you get the tweets from that locale. We added a BB Promote panel that allows businesses, or if there's a conference or convention going on in that area, if people tag BB Promote, it becomes a communication tool for them for that area.
Okay. I see that right now in the app.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're now, the Black Chamber of Commerce, I believe, is going to tell their businesses that they can use this as a free promotional tool to leverage Twitter. But remember, as you pointed out, you don't need to be on Twitter or a Twitter user to now get tweets and Twitter streams. It's coming through Blackbird Mobile. So as we grow Blackbird Mobile, this is an on-ramp to Twitter for people who aren't interested in being on Twitter. So it really is an expansion of the voice. And I believe a logical extension of what Twitter is, where I go back to that utility nature of Twitter, Twitter's confusing to people. This is getting that Twitter functionality beyond its, the tech head base and giving it to a community. So we're in talks with some other communities that will also have this type of mobile app available to them.
Yeah, I think it's great because I'm always looking for what's happening in the Black news, and I think the news tab is a really useful function because I can just pop in here and I see, content from Bossip, but then I also see things around the election,
right,
and everything else. So it's kind of just it's almost kind of a great starting point. And we live in a mobile first world now, and I really want to stress to our listeners, you got to really figure out what is your mobile strategy. And how do you become a mobile-first business? Because mobile is now is the first screen. People go to bed with their phone next to them at night and wake up and look at their phone first thing in the morning. They're not in front of the television screen 24/7. So mobile is extremely important to the future of your business. So really start to think about it and focus in on how you can be a mobile-first company.
Exactly. And we have, that's, you say that, and part of one of the other products that I put out. So we've got Blackbird Mobile. That's my company, Blackbird Solutions. But my other company, one of them is we have a Zinn app, ZINNAPP.com, and that is an open web app platform that allows you to create apps. There's simple apps, simple content apps that can exist. They exist outside of the app stores. And that is a big push of Google, interestingly enough. Google's dream would be that everybody moves to web apps and comes out of the closed app stores, because the engine for Google is their ad network, but it's dominant on the web and not so much with mobile.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to name any
web
names.
apps, they serve into those.
Yeah. So here's my question for you. So why do you feel that web apps versus iOS and Android, Google Play Store, why do you feel that the web apps can be a bigger opportunity for, brands in the future, or even, small businesses and pretty much everybody?
Okay, so here's how I explain it. So I remember, we'll go back in time, 91, 92. So I remember telling people, you're going to go directly to websites and you're going to, that's what's going to happen. And people would look at me like I was crazy. And they would say, yeah, I go to AOL. I go to CompuServe. That was the web to them. And because it was closed systems. But that's analogous to today, the iTunes App Store, the Google Play Store. The thing that people are absolutely not prepared for is that with web technology, all of this web technology has gotten much faster. So JavaScript engines are much faster now, right? What is missing is the proliferation of really, truly fast bandwidth to mirror native operating systems. But that's about to happen. 5G is 40 to 100 times faster than our current 4G. So we're on the brink of open web apps being as responsive and as snappy as native apps. Couple that with the fact that Google, everybody, look at your Google. All of a sudden you see Google surfacing in your search results. There's an apps tab now. Google's hope is that as open web apps become more prevalent and more prominent, that apps tab at some point will probably disappear and you will have apps being delivered in your search results just like websites are now. And the beauty of an open web app is you share it with a link. For brands and businesses, if you're selling digital product, you also don't have the 30% fee to an app store.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. So it's like you got to give part of the your money back to Apple or to Google just to host
exactly
your stuff up in there. And I think it would be awesome because it would just make things much easier. Because and the reality is this. People probably only use 5 or 6 apps.
Right.
On their phone. Like you probably use Messenger, you use your telephone app, whatever you can text message with, and then they probably use like a social media app, so like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
Right.
That's kind of the extent to it, and then you'll play whatever games. And the reality is, like the app economy, 90% of it is game money. It's the Candy Crushes, and now like the Pokemon Go's of the world.
Right.
They're getting all the engagement. So all those branded apps that companies spend like all that time putting together, is they don't see the same numbers of downloads. So it would be cheaper for them to develop on the web, things that can kind of mimic the functionalities of apps.
And that's the thing, exactly. And for us, I don't know what my problem is. I I say stuff and then it tends to happen. But it's hard. I'm not good at communicating it, I think. We're saying like making it very clear. It's like, here's why. I'm just very literal. I love numbers and I love history because it tells you what's going to happen. If you look back, you see forward. And because somehow we keep doing the same stuff over and over and over again. And so this analogy between App Store and AOL, closed web to open web, closed app to open app. It has to happen. The world hasn't changed. The world's changed, but it stays the same. It's just a different mechanism or means by which we're communicating and acting with one another.
Awesome. Well, Ed, you have so much insight and everything else. So we have a segment on the show called the Smart Six. So I'm going to ask you 6 questions, and you're going to give me the first thing that pops into your head. And it's a great way for our audience just to get to know a little bit more about you.
Okay, that's always scary when it first thing that pops into my head. Here we go.
All right, so number 1, what book changed your life?
Bible.
The Bible. Awesome. Number 2, what's your favorite song that you're jamming to right now?
Saya. Saya's No Cheap Thrills. Cheap Thrills.
All right. Awesome. All right. Number 3, what's that one thing that you do to relax?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't relax. That's my problem.
You gotta have some time for yourself, Ed, because you do a lot of stuff. So you need to go on a vacation.
I really do. No, I'm taking that to heart, Mike. Thank you.
All right, so number 4, sorry. What's one movie that you've seen over and over again?
Greatest movie ever made, The Avengers.
Like the original Avengers?
The Avengers, yeah, with the Hulk and Captain America. I believe that's it was on again last night, and I watch it. My favorite scene from any movie ever made, it was Air Force One before this. Get off my plane.
Yeah.
The greatest scene is Dr. Banner and Captain America. Dr. Banner, shouldn't you be getting angry? That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry. And just, I get chills every time I see it or think about it. That's a motivational image for me. With Banner, it's awesome. I love the Avengers.
Awesome. All right, so number 5. Who is another smart brown voice that you look up to and respect?
He's not alive, but James Weldon Johnson and what he did, just from his poem 50 Years, it really shaped how I view the world and feel I have an obligation to help people and actually make a change, having been here for the better.
Excellent. All right, and our final question is, how can our listeners help you and or support you with everything that you're working on?
Download and use Blackbird Mobile and tell everybody about it. And as we put more out, I would love for people's feedback. And every apps are an iterative process, and so we just want to get better and actually serve the Black community, but a number of other communities as well. We're excited about this. I think this is a way to make Twitter much more meaningful and make its news nature something that powers community and ultimately communication amongst people. Because a lot of people can look at this and say, well, you're separating people. But no, it's not about. America is great because different people preserved who they are and came together. And that's where innovation comes from, because you learn from people who aren't like you, not from people who are like you.
Awesome. Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on today's episode of Smart Brown Voices. I'm going to make sure to put all the links so that people can follow you and all your different businesses and everything else in the show notes. Everybody, please go to your iOS store or your Google Play store and search for Blackbird Mobile and download the app and play around with it. And let us know what you think. I think it's a pretty cool tool. I haven't been using it for the past couple of days. I really like it a lot. And so please, support Ed and everything that he's doing out there in the community.
Mike, thank you so much for all you're doing. I mean, I'm a big fan and honored to be on Smart Brown Voices. I'm humbled, so thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for episode 66. So we will see you next time. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts, and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices, and be inspired.